Hello and welcome. Welcome to my channel, New Zone Fitness, the holistic approach. Hello guys, and a warm welcome. I hope you all are keeping well. So really I want to really discuss what the holistic means in layman terms and in practical terms as well. What does it look like? How would that feel, you using that approach in your everyday existence? Because sometimes we can say these words and they seem like, wow, that seems interesting, but how do we actually bring access to that and make it into some action? So holistic, really the essence of this training is looking at the heart of things. Go into the heart of you, listening to the whispers of your heart. So it's really connecting back to yourself, making that intention to know thyself, to really take time and put that awareness on what you're doing actively in your everyday movement through life. So every moment that we find ourselves in, it's a relationship with ourselves, constantly in a relationship with ourselves. To the moment we were born, to the moment we would die, we are constantly having a conversation with ourselves, and most of the time we're unaware of what that conversation looks like, because it's become so well practiced and so well rehearsed. As driving a car, we don't need to really, we're on autopilot really, aren't we? So that's why I use the word intention. In order to create a change, we have to make that intent action. So holistic is really looking at yourself in this moment. What are you doing? And connecting back. It's a relationship as you would have with someone outside yourself. You know, it's a question of talking and listening. Now, the interesting thing is, when we are conversing with someone outside ourselves, we do practice that rhythm. Sometimes we're better at talking, because I think we like to talk more than we like to listen. So applying that back to ourselves, do we actually really listen? Do we know how to listen to ourselves? Especially when it comes to our intuition. You know, in that little whisper in the background, always asking something else of you, asking something more of you. What is that? Do you recognize that voice in the day? We all kind of live our lives through that. We've all experienced in some capacity that invisible voice, that invisible energy, right? So really being holistic is really honoring yourself. It's not just being compassionate and patient and showing kindness to yourself. It also teaches us to focus and to honor and to have qualities of determination. Because when we connect back to ourselves, we recognize it's all about you versus you. That's the template. And when we look outside ourselves, it's just another way of us really getting to see ourselves, to observe ourselves in social interactions. But again, it's our relationship with ourselves and what we're saying back to ourselves on a daily basis, minute by minute, moment by moment, week by week. What is your narrative? So when it comes back to training and the way we approach our nutrition, really that's where we need to be a bit mindful, especially if we're looking to reduce some weight, because it's not just going to happen, and it's not going to happen by doing some fad diet or calorie counting or doing some extreme, you know, situation where it's not going to serve you. So it's slowing down, And this is what the holistic is, slowing right down, right? Taking your breath deeper and becoming present. So now we're present. What kind of thoughts are we having? So when we start observing our thoughts, try not to be critical on your thoughts. Try to have an objective perspective. And try to see, why am I having these thoughts? Where are these thoughts? Where have they come from? And are they true? What I'm saying back to myself, just because we have a thought doesn't make it 100% right. You know, it's like watching a film or watching something on TV that you're not really enjoying. So what would you do? Would you continue to watch it? No, you wouldn't. You would change the channel until you would find something that was more in alignment with you. And the same goes for our thinking. Just because we've been given a thought pops in our head, doesn't make it right. And remember, our thoughts are very tied into our emotional life as well, and that's our emotional being is the thing that really moves us the most in life, really, and it's in particular our pain. So coming back and tying this back into the connection back to ourselves and training and holistic, is being mindful. And that's what mindfulness is. It actively brings us back to the moment. So for instance, if you're preparing a meal, you might be cutting up, you know, some onions, but you're cutting the onions, but you're not really there. Your mind is somewhere else. So what do you do in that moment? Come back, bring your awareness back in, and bring your attention back to the onion, and just connect with the whole context, not just the onion, where you're standing. You know, where you are today, you may not be there tomorrow. You may be somewhere else. So it's a question of not taking where you are for granted. Even if you're in a conflict or struggling or feel stuck in some capacity, that also will not last forever. If we have the right tools, we can understand, rather than saying, why is this happening to me? We come back and say, what can I learn? Because when we have that kind of mindset, it connects us back to something which expands us and doesn't keep us limited. So I really wanted to kind of explain what the essence of the holistic is. It is about connecting with yourself, because the world around us, even though technology has advanced, we can talk to people on the other side of the world. We can, you know, go into a shop and just click and buy the stuff and go. You know, we don't even have to leave our house to get food delivered to us now. It's a completely different landscape. But what's really missing is connection, real connections. When we go on social media, are we really seeing the real thing? Or are we seeing something on Instagram which is exaggerated, which is, you know, not reality? It's just a glimpse of what someone wants to show you. You know, that is the trouble. We as humans seek out truth, and the truth lies between you and yourself. So when we actually come to that realization that it's you versus you, and everything else around you is just learning grounds for you to learn more about yourself. Because ultimately, knowing yourself better is going to serve you, opposed to not knowing what you're about. And the way we do that is by becoming, slowing down, and allowing ourselves to just take a step back and have a look at the bigger picture and recognize everything is in flux. everything is changing. The flower that was blooming yesterday is gone. There's subtle differences in the moment, although everything may look the same, but there are subtle differences. And it's that makes life beautiful, is when we connect with those personal, the things that are really personal to us, that really matter to us, and bringing that back to ourselves. Sometimes we treat ourselves like we don't matter, that we're not important. We may find ourselves at the bottom of the list and suddenly finding ourselves doing something we didn't even agree to do. And the list goes on and on and on. So holistic is recognizing that you must value yourself. And the way you value yourself is by connecting back to yourself, observing yourself. So if you find yourself doing something, ask yourself, why am I doing this? Why am I snacking like this? Why am I eating these crisps when I'm not even hungry? Why am I having this box of chocolate at this moment? What's really behind this? And allowing yourself to expand in your mind, to open up that dialogue with yourself so that you can understand why you do the things you do. And then you're able to come back in and support yourself as you would do with a friend or a loved one. You would support them in the same manner. We have lost that love for ourselves to really be your best friend, as to say, we're not. And the world is there to illustrate my point. Just look at the world today. You know, it's losing its foundation, because within us, our foundations are unstable. So coming back and tying this back into how we can access this, just bring it back to this moment with you and I sitting here. And what are you feeling? And just observe. Don't put a narrative behind it, don't put a label behind it. If you're feeling stuck, or you're feeling unworthy, or you're feeling like this is impossible, or you've got a negative response, why is that? In order for change to happen, we have to look at something in a different way. If we keep looking at something the same way, we're always going to see the same thing. So the way we look at something is the way we access our thoughts. If we allow another thought in and say, okay, let's give this a go. I've tried everything else. Let's try to be nice to myself. Let's start with that. Let's start by saying, I don't want to do that actually. No one asked me to do that. So I'm not going to do that. No thanks. Very difficult if you've been used to doing that for years, surrendering and giving away your time, your energy. So your inner heart will guide you, and allow that connection, allow you to connect with that. But if your mind is condensed with not being present here, then that's where we need to begin. And you have begun because you're here. And although you may feel like you want quick results, I want to lose this weight, I want to feel better, nothing like that works in an instant. And that's the trouble. We have lost the connection of being patient and learning to be still and learning to sit with ourselves. because we're so used to having such distractions around us constantly. So, just to summarize, holistic is to know thyself. To know thyself is to love thyself. To recognize, to be able to hear yourself in a meaningful way so that you can really connect in a more honest manner, and you will take that into the world. You would take that energy into the world. So be kind to yourself today and start thinking about, what is your inner voice saying to you? What is it asking of you? Listen to it and try to follow through. It will always try to point you to something that will ask more of you, to lift your spirit, to lift your energy system into something more peaceful. And where there's peace, there's gratitude. And if you're living a life of gratitude, then well done. So I hope this video has helped you, and please leave a message, leave a comment below, and hit the subscribe button. And I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Have a lovely, wonderful day ahead of you, and stay blessed. Bye.